everybody, and welcome to episode 379 of Good Luck High Five.
That's right. You're listening to a podcast that's for you if you play Magic the Gathering, no matter where in your own home you're sitting to play it.
I'm one of your hosts, Maria.
And I'm another one of your hosts, Megan.
And on this week's show, we are talking Standard.
That's right. It is a wild new world out there.
How much longer do you think I could go?
You know, I believe in you. I think that you could have gone for the entirety of this episode.
I think I could have done it for 45 minutes.
Yeah, like you just keep going and it's just me doing the episode, but with you still saying standard in the background.
Underneath it. You know, like,
yeah.
What do you think the record is for a human being who could hold their breath?
Oh, wow. It's something absurdly high, right? It's like 7 minutes.
It is probably something absurdly high. And like, just think about it. Like people who do synchronized swimming and stuff, they have to hold their breath for a long time too.
And they're being athletic.
Yes. Record for holding breath. Ooh, Google knew what I was going to type.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
It knows what you want to know.
Okay, I just saw the answer. Now I need your real guess. Like, what do you want to put in as your 100%? This is my guess. Lock it in.
Oh, okay. Okay. 12 minutes.
12 minutes. Okay, well, the actual answer is about twice that. 22 minutes and 22 seconds. Recorded in 2012, German freediver Tom Tom Sietas, I can't say his name, held his breath underwater for 22 minutes and 22 seconds, besting somebody else by a previous record by 22 seconds. Can you believe that?
No, I really can't.
That seems
I really can't.
Unbelievable.
If someone was underwater for 5 minutes, I would think they were dead.
Yeah, I know. Me too. And I also found this out. The average adult man can hold his breath for about 45 seconds to 1 minute before feeling the intense urge to breathe.
Oh my goodness.
22 minutes, y'all.
That is mind-boggling. Like 12, like I said, my first guess was like 7.
Yeah. I would have guessed something like that.
7 seems like a really long time.
Indeed, but not long
12 seems
enough.
like a long time. Oh, wow.
Anyway, you won't be holding your breath for much longer because we're going to be talking about Standard.
Is that how we got here? Oh, I'm sorry. We were talking about you saying the word standard.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry. There's no need for you to hold your breath for 22 minutes and 22 seconds. Because we're going to tell you about it much sooner than that.
I'm going to submit that to the Segway Contest for 2020. Best Segways. I think that's going to be a real contender.
Yeah, it is. I think for sure. Standard. Wow. What a playground.
It really is.
What an American Ninja Warrior course.
Because, you know, we're at the start of a new format here with the release of Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths, and all of these wild standard decks just busting onto the scene. Last week and this week, we have a little bit better idea of what's kind of shaking out through the sieve and what the actual golden nuggets are in the standard format. But still, so much remains to be kind of panned out in the format to find out which decks are really awesome and which decks are really just a poo-poo platter. But what we're going to do this week is go through what has consistently, at least over the past couple of weeks, been rising to the top as the best decks of the format, the most well-performing decks. And then we're also going to talk about what we've been playing and also some super fun decks that we want to try in the format too.
We're never going to just sit here and tell you what's good. We will also tell you what's fun. And we will also tell you what's up.
We sure will. And what's up right now, I'm going to submit this to another Segway Contest, is I'm going to tell you that you can support the show over on patreon.com/GLHF magic.
Really quick question.
Yeah.
In a Segway contest, is like the prize that you're competing for a Segway?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Perfect. There's no more appropriate prize.
I know.
Thank you to everyone who was a patron. Speaking of prizes, you are a prize that we don't deserve, but we are thankful to have every single day. So thank you so much if you are a patron. If you have become a patron in the last couple of months, thank you so much. Welcome to the Patreon family. We're so happy to have you.
Yeah, we've been hearing a lot of people talking about how wonderful it's been to have a Patreon community to help support them in these tough times. And somebody actually sent us a very lovely email about how our show helps them out, but that's the fact that they can't support right now on Patreon, which is totally fine. The show is always free to whoever wants it at any given moment. But something you're doing with your Patreon subscription is not only are you supporting the show for yourself, but you're also helping other people who might not be able to financially contribute to supporting the show right now too. So that's really cool.
Yeah. And get ready for this segue. Speaking of people who are supporting people, Card Kingdom, a really wonderful sponsor of Good Luck
Great
High
work.
Five, who we
Great
also
work.
thank you so much. I really want to win that segue. Who are such wonderful people, and we're always so happy to be part of their family and part of their team.
Yeah, Card Kingdom has been supporting the people that they sponsor through this pandemic, which is absolutely magnificent. So if you're looking for a good company to buy from, and why shouldn't you buy from a company that really puts its money where its mouth is and helps out its workers and helps out the people that it supports via sponsorship, and that's Card Kingdom. You can go to their website, cardkingdom.com/GLHF, and put in orders, and whenever they're ready, they will start shipping them off to you with lightning fast speed, because that's what they're known for, and excellent customer support. So whenever this whole thing is done, or even right now, consider supporting Card Kingdom, because they've been here for us through this, and they'll be there for you as well.
Maria, I want to ask you this. Have you ever considered the phrase "put your money where your mouth is" as just like someone biting dollar bills?
I don't know if I've ever actually actively considered that, but now that you say it, I'm imagining it.
Like, literally, you're just saying, put your money into the spot where your mouth is.
Don't eat change. That sounds terrible.
It really, really does. I need quarters to do my laundry so bad, but I do not want to go to the bank, because the bank is like the number one germ factory.
What if you just went to the drive-thru and you put your stuff in the little tube?
I wonder if that's an option.
Just use the tube.
Do you think they'll give me
system.
quarters through the tube?
Yeah, they'll just put them in, you'll get a roll.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see. I hope so.
You'll get a tube within a tube.
Yeah, like a bank is just everybody's touching stuff there.
I feel like money is one of the dirtiest things that exists, both metaphorically and literally.
Yeah, I was going to say, in just several senses of the word.
Is there any science to back that up? I'm sure somebody will send us a link.
I think so. All right. Do you know what's not dirty?
Standard is real dirty right now, Megan.
Standard is real dirty right now.
It sure is.
Yes, it is. Oh man, I cannot wait to talk about it. What a day. I did not think if 6 years ago you had been like, Megan, someday you're going to be so excited to talk about Standard. And I'd be like, shut up. Also, why didn't you tell me about some of the more important stuff that's going on 7 years from now?
Yeah. You're like, you
Time
from the
Traveler's just like, hey, you're going to be really excited to talk about Standard. Nothing else is happening in 2020.
Don't worry about it. Just think about how fun Standard will be. You'll be playing a lot of it. Why? Gotta go.
Oh, it'll be such a good time. Oh
dear.
You crappy time traveler.
Well, let's talk about, do you want to talk about what you've been playing first, what we've been playing, or do you want to talk about like what the top decks are first?
Let's talk about what we've been playing first.
Okay, great. What have you been throwing down with? Why do you love Standard so much now? Tell me everything.
Okay. I've cycled through 3 decks. Because some of them, as you will see, overlapped with decks that I had already, so I didn't have to spend many wild cards on them at all, which was nice. One was Blue-White Control with
Classic.
with Sharknado in it, which was like, it was fine for a little bit. It's like, it's not. I don't think that it's very strong right now with all of the sacrifice decks. It kind of struggles a little bit because those decks just have so many ways to recur their stuff and like get those last few points of damage through, you know? And then I played Sacrifice for a little bit. I played a Rakdos version of the Sacrifice with Mayhem Devil, which I really like because I was playing against a lot of like the Loris or other sacrifice decks. And if you have a Mayhem Devil in play and your opponent sacrifices 2 creatures with Priest of the Forgotten Gods, it is not pretty for them. It is very brutal.
That sounds
it is quite
awesome. Because like, you know what? Priest is mean. Priest is mean. There, I said it.
Yes, it really is. But you know what? When you have a Mayhem Devil in play, you're like, go for it, buddy.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so I got like a lot of wins that way by like choosing the version of Sacrifice that I think is like not quite as strong like overall. But if you're playing against a bunch of other Sacrifice decks, like Mayhem Devil is just something that you want to be playing. And then
yeah, that card is a house.
Yes, because it's when anybody sacrifices something.
Right.
It's just quite good. And then most recently, I've been playing my favorite of the bunch, which is the Jeskai Fires with Carrucha list.
Carrucha!
It's great. Carrucha the Macro Sage. I love that hippo fish.
Oh, by the way, thank you to everybody who sent us pictures of their draft decks who took the Carrucha challenge.
Oh, that's right. Speaking
Thumbs
of
up.
Carrucha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one I've just had like a real blast playing. It's so much fun.
So my question is like, is Carrucha just gravy? Is Carrucha just candy on the sandwich on that deck?
Yes. Carrucha is just candy on the sandwich. Carrucha is a card that's always in your hand, available to cast when you have a bunch of CMC3 or greater permanents in play and you just want to draw a bunch of cards. It is.
Is it basically just a stock fires list plus Carrucha?
So this version, yes, it plays a little bit more like Brazen Borrower and Bone Crusher Giant because those are like two nice spells that get around the 3 CMC rule. Because on their face they say they cost 3, but then they have their adventure side, so that you do actually have like some options for making plays on turn 2. If you cast like the stomp side of the giant or the, petty theft version of the borrower. And then it doesn't have the blue Cavalier anymore. It just has the red Cavalier.
The red Cavalier was the real one we liked anyway. Let's get real.
Exactly. Like, look, I love me some blue cards, and then it has the one that I'm playing has 2 copies of Narset, who I also really like.
You're a big Narset fan.
Yeah, I'm a really big Narset fan. This version, like this Narset is great. Like she can come down, she can like kill stuff if you really need to kill something. But a lot of the time she's really great. Like if you're playing against like Sacrifice or something like that, or an aggro deck, like her +1 gains you 2 life.
Sick.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I think the Sacrifice deck gaining that life is so important because they're going to try and ping you to death any way possible.
Yes.
Which brings me to talk about one deck that I've been fooling around with. Do you want to hear about it?
Yes, absolutely I do.
All right, so not only me playing this deck, of course, it is Jeskai Cycling, and I want to play it because it reminds me of draft. I love standard decks that feel like draft decks, and this one's super cool because it makes the most use possible of the cycling mechanic from Ikoria. And basically what you're doing is, I'm going to go with every card in your deck that is not a land has cycling on it, which is pretty cool, other than... your Zenith Flare, which is how you win the game. So you have a bunch of creatures that have cycling, like Drannith Healer, Drannith Stinger, Flourishing Fox, and Valiant Rescuer. And those all just give you incidental bonus from cycling while they're on the battlefield and have cycling themselves. And critically, their cycling all costs 1, which is also awesome. And then you play cards that also have cycling 1 just to play them. Do you ever cast them? I mean, like, you probably cast them maybe 2% of the time. Go for Blood, which is like a fight card, and Boon of the Wish Giver, which is a draw card. Nobody cares. They're just in there to cycle. No. Frostveil Ambush, just in there to cycle. And you just kind of like boop, 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 cycle, 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 cycle. And then you cast your Zenith Flare, which deals X to any target. It can go to the face or it can kill a creature. But if you're killing a creature with it, you're probably not winning that game. Deals X damage, and you gain X life, where X is the number of cards with cycling in your graveyard. So you basically try and 10 them and then 10 them again.
What's the biggest Zenith Flare you've cast?
In whatever combination you need to get it done. Okay, well, for me, here's the thing. I think the biggest one I cast was for 13. But I was having a problem with this deck when I was experimenting with it, which was I didn't quite know exactly how I was supposed to play it. Because you have to make a decision if you want these creatures actually on the battlefield, or if you just want to keep cycling in hopes to find your Zenith Flare or something else that you can use. Like lands, for instance. You do still want to hit your land drops, because playing creatures and cycling is actually pretty expensive, especially in the middle portion of the game. So I don't know if I was playing this deck right. I had a lot of questions. But then I got to cast some of the Magic Fest online finals and, the top 8 of the tournament last weekend. And a player in that tournament was playing this deck in the top 8. And I got to watch him play it running up to the top 8 as well. And I learned something, which was, Maria, don't be a dum-dum. Put your creatures on the battlefield and then cycle. That's what they're there for. You dum-dum. So now I feel more confident that I'll play it correctly. This deck also runs Lurrus as a companion, as just like a little added bonus to be able to, if you use your creatures as cycling early on in the game, get them back and then play them as creatures after you play Lurrus. So that's a kind of nice little treat, if you will.
I mean, do you think that this deck is the real deal?
Great question. Because a lot of people thought this was a meme deck going into this past weekend in Standard. I do think it's real. I think it's super easy to hate it out. You just need some counter spells.
It does have the problem that it has exactly 4 spells that can win the game, and you usually need to cast 2 of them.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know how long this deck will be around for. It's very fun to play. Who doesn't love drawing cards just constantly? Just like boop, 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 draw, draw, draw. I know you never thought you'd hear me say that, but I mean, hey.
Oh, Maria, I'm so proud. I'm so happy. And also, it's not like a super counterspell heavy metagame right now.
No, it's not. I mean, the biggest counterspell that's getting played is Mystical Dispute, right? And like that usually isn't going to stop you. I don't know. It seems unusual that somebody would be playing a million Mystical Disputes in the main, at least for game number 1,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think
you're going to get them.
Yeah, game number 1 seems like pretty good.
And of course, Drannith Stinger is going to do you work over the course of the game. You're going to have incidental damage that way and by attacking with your creatures. So it has ways to win, but obviously the Zenith Flare is the, as we said, candy on the sandwich. Okay, so why don't you tell me about a Yorion deck that you've been experimenting with too?
Oh man, Yorion is just I love Yorion's deal. I love the 80 card deck. Like, it's just so the one that I most enjoy. I haven't really seen the Fires version of this, though I know that it exists. I've mostly seen I've saw like a Bant Ramp version of Yorion, and then one that was like an all-in enchantments Yorion.
Oh, cool.
That just was. It's difficult to explain how brutal this experience was, but
let's go for it.
But here's an idea of it. I was playing Control against someone playing this like Yorion enchantments deck, and I'm playing a 60 card deck, and they're playing 80. And I thought after about a 30 minutes into game 1,
yikes,
that maybe the only way to win this was that maybe they were gonna deck themselves before I did.
How is that possible?
They just like they would like flicker. I don't even know how to explain it. right? But they had like the biggest combo of all of this was Elspeth Conquers Death.
Yeah.
The saga and Yorion, because right, like Yorion would somehow die and go to the graveyard, and then Elspeth's Conquers Death would like get it back, and then Yorion would come in and then like exile all of these things that they had in play, and they would get their Elspeth like everything just came back from the graveyard, so that like it felt like every turn they were exiling like three Omen of Thassa, some Omen of the Forge, like 3 Planeswalkers, and this saga, and then bringing them all back.
That is just filthy.
It was honestly disgusting.
So you're like, well, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, this is a spicy deck. This is where I want to be. Like, it was just about value. It just was like about incurring value. They would cast a bunch of copies of Granted, which is the the adventure half of Fae of Wishes. So they go and get like their Chandra Awakened Inferno. And then they'd like cast it and put an emblem on me, and then I'd kill it somehow, and then they'd Yorion away their Elspeth Conquers Death, and then it would go through all of its cycles, and they would get it back. It was a year of my life, that one game.
And was it worth it? Was it worth it?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Great. Because I was inspired. I saw a hero.
You saw a hero.
Exactly. So yeah, I am a huge fan of these Yorion decks. There's just something spicy about them that I appreciate.
I have been wondering, this must be a drawback. We talked about this last week. Like, do the companions have a big enough drawback to not be worth it in draft or whatever? And Yorion, I was like, surely having 20 additional cards in your standard deck is going to be a drawback. No, turns out that no, just not.
No, they just made it so that it's not.
It's just not.
Yeah, which is very impressive, and I like it.
So, I want to find this deck that ended up winning the Magic Online Weekly Championship.
Yes.
Last night, actually.
Yeah, because
it was
also
Rakdos
that means that we can, because this is an Obosh deck.
I'm going to make sure I have the exact list here.
Because we can talk about companions. We should buckle down, have a chat about those friends. Companions,
I know, because we've talked about Carrucha, we've talked about Yorion, and now we're going to talk about Recto Sacrifice, which makes use of both Lurrus and Obosh in different builds.
Yeah. We talked about the cycling deck, which makes use of Lurrus.
Okay, I'm trying to find this exact list because it was so spicy. From this guy. 1 second. Here it is. Okay, so this was from Jammernaut, who took down the Magic Online Weekly Championship here. And Recto Sacrifice, as we all know, has been a deck for a long time now. It's got a combo piece in it with the Cat and the Witch's Oven, which has been in standard for even longer than that. The cool thing about this deck is that it's making use of Obosh to double your damage when you have your odd creatures in play, of which you have very many. I made reference to one earlier on in this episode, Whisper Squad. That's right. There are 4 copies of the 1/1 for 1 mana, where you pay 1 in a black and go get another Whisper Squad and put it onto the battlefield.
What a world.
I know, right?
What a world. Yes.
Whisper Squad is in here, as well as Serrated Scorpion, Draft Champion, that little 1/2 Scorpion that deals 2 when it dies, and you gain 2. But something else cool about this deck is it's running Judith, the Scourge Diva, which I love. I love you, Judy.
Yeah.
Hello, you're here for your encore. I'm happy to see her in a deck just wrecking face, pumping up all of your little creatures. And she works so great with Obosh because she's putting the additional 1 on the front, and then Obosh is doubling that. So
yeah. It's Obosh is no joke. Bosh.
I love it. I also love Heraldic Banner in this list. It runs 4 of them. That's right. That's that weird artifact for 3 where you choose a color when it ETBs and creatures of the chosen color get +1/+0, which I love to see an
I have
Anthem
not
effect.
yet seen that inclusion. I've played against this a couple of times now on Arena, and it is like it's brutal. It gets its job done.
Is. The only thing that's stopping me from being 100% in love with this deck is the fact that it plays the cat oven combo, which just I personally find enormously annoying to sit through and to play. But everything else about this deck I love. And while I was doing commentary, Bloody was like, yeah, but if you're playing black and like a creature deck, like you have to play it, right? And I was like, yeah, I think you just kind of have to, which is...
I mean... I think it is true. And do you know what? I'm such a hypocrite because I'm so annoyed when other people are like taking too much time with their cat oven combo. But like when I'm playing it myself, I love it. I love doing it. I don't mind. I don't mind going through the motions of being like, sacrifice this cat, get it back.
The cat came back the very next day. Yeah, so I think this deck is really, really cool, cat oven aside. And I think it can go the distance. And I think it's proving itself to be better than the version that had Luris as the companion. But there you go.
Yeah, I think that it is quite good.
You mentioned playing against a mono blue flash deck, which sounds kind of cool.
Yes, I certainly did. This is one that I have played against a couple of times now. And it is a deck that has our old school friend Brineborn Cutthroat.
Oh yeah, Brineborn
is the card
Cutthroat.
that I'm thinking of. Yes. So Brineborn Cutthroat and like Spectral Sailor and counter spells, and then the big addition to this deck is Sea Dasher Octopus.
You love this octopus, Megan.
Oh, this octopus is great unless someone is playing it against me, and then I'm quite mad.
Yeah, exactly.
But like they like flash in, their sailor or their cutthroat or something, and then the next turn they slap an octopus on it and like attack you.
Gross.
And they're just drawing cards left and right.
I was like, oh, isn't the sailor a human? No, it's a spirit pirate.
No, exactly. It is, in fact, a spirit pirate.
And we all know a spirit pirate mutating makes tons of flavor sense.
Yes. And when a spirit pirate becomes an octopus, you're just like, oh, yeah, duh. It's cool. We get what's going on here.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Another deck that I was playing around with a little bit, which I think is pretty spicy, I don't know how good it's going to end up being, is Winona, Joiner of Forces. So
I've only played against this
wild.
once. Yeah, it wrecked me the time that I played against it.
The thing with this deck is when it wins really fast and really hard, and when it loses it just peters out and does basically nothing. So it's one of those types of decks, but when it wins it's like lots of fireworks, so it looks really cool and it's super fun to win with too because it's super unfair. The reason that it works is because of Winona, Joiner of Forces, which, in case you don't know, is a 4/4 for 4. Whenever a non-human creature you control attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a human creature card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. So like this deck is running like cards like Raise the Alarm, which creates you 2 human tokens. You've got Winona herself. You've got other humans in the deck. It doesn't matter. The point is, like, Charming Prince is a 2-drop. You're going to maybe get 2 to 3 triggers if you have Winona. You just have to play her. She doesn't have to attack. And then, boom, and team swings in.
I think that, like, the time that I played against this, they went, like turn 2 Charming Prince, turn 3 Legion War Boss, turn 4 Winona, and just like literally like put 3 permanents onto the battlefield. And I was like, well, this game is over. They're tapped and attacking and indestructible.
Yes, and one of the things that Winona puts onto the battlefield, the best thing, is Agent of Treachery, which normally costs 7 mana. But you can just put it into play for free on turn 4. Yeah.
That seems reasonable and fair.
Yeah, so Winona, I think this deck is super fun. But like I said, if it fails pretty hard and it can't do anything. You've got to have Winona. If you don't have Winona, you kind of lose. But if you have her, you win.
It's a classic, like, what do they call it? Like glass cannon, right?
Yeah, glass cannon.
Maybe it's going to go off, but also maybe it's just going to shatter into pieces.
So those are like some of the top decks in the format that we've noticed that we've played against. But of course, here at Good Luck High Five Studios, we like to talk about decks that are kind of a little bit under the radar and a little bit different, shall we say, more fun, more spicy. And we've got some cool lists that we found on the internet that we want to share with you right now.
Yeah. So this is like, we've both seen posts about this separately. It's like some of the new hotness around, which is Teamer Mutate.
I love this. You want to know why, Megan? Can you guess why I love this?
Because it's weird?
Because
it has Baby
creatures.
Godzilla? Oh, because it has creatures. Classic Maria creature.
Yeah.
Creature
because,
deck.
like, think about it. A lot of these top standard decks that we're mentioning, the Rakdos one doesn't count, but like any Fires deck and whatever, and Teamer Reclamation, which is also still very popular. They're just about playing like one big fatty or whatever, or one huge expansion explosion, and then you're dead.
Yeah.
And this is cool because this is like a critical mass of creatures in this list. And as you said, it does play Baby Godzilla. Hello.
Yes.
To discount your mutates, and also a bunch of really cool creatures to either mutate on or with mutate. Sea-Dash or Octopus is one of them in this deck. We've also got Gem Razor, which is a really spicy 4/4 for 4 mana. I mean, Questing Beast is in this deck as well. Hello. I think it's really, really cool.
The Razor, doesn't it mutate for 1 green?
I think it does, yeah.
Which is just like, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
You know, blah, blah. And I love, you have stuff like Voracious Hydra, which comes into play with counters on it, and then you like put a much bigger creature on top of that, and then it still has the counters.
I love it.
So it's just enormous. Oh,
This version we're looking at has Umori the Collector as the companion as well, just for value here, of course.
Yeah.
And if you're watching the video version, we'll have this deck up on the screen. If you at home are listening to this and you're like, I want to see these decks, just hop on over to youtube.com/goodluckhighfive and you'll be able to see them in the video version of our podcast too. So make sure to check that out.
This deck looks pretty cool. This is pretty sweet looking.
I'm definitely going to try it 100%. No questions asked.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what other deck I'm going to try?
Tell me about it.
This is Jeskai Aggro. Yes, the word aggro is in it, so Maria is going to be a fan. But 2, it plays 4 copies of Staggering Insight. What?
Yeah,
Hello.
classic. You love you and Aura.
I sure do, especially one that gives +1/+1 and draws cards when it deals damage.
Maria, this deck is an interesting to look at.
It's a work of art. Luris is your companion. You're playing Terramander. You're playing the perfect pet. What's the name of that card? Sprite Dragon? 10th District Legionnaire. What? 4 copies of God's Willing, so it's a little boggly. 4 copies of Opt. Karametra's Blessing, once again, boggly. Sentinel's Eyes, cheap Aura. Raking Claws, I assume just for cycling. Staggering Insight, 4 copies. Defiant Strike, 4 copies. This deck is bizarre. Is that really enough creatures? I've got to try this out.
Yeah. I mean, that's 12 creatures.
Okay.
13 counting Loris. That's more than enough.
I also see Fight as 1 in here too. Okay, I'll report back next week on how this deck goes because I'm definitely going to try it.
You have to try this out because this is wild. There's no other way to describe this deck. It is. Raking Claws, I bet you sometimes you cast it.
Yeah, I mean, how much damage does it do?
Raking Claws, doesn't it give double strike?
Oh, double strike. You're right. Yeah, that is what it does. I bet you do cast it.
Yeah. You're gonna do a little Raking Claws action.
You probably get people with that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. What about this mono green Karn list?
Tell me about it, Megan.
I've actually have played against this a couple of times now that I see it, because I've played against some of these Kahira the Orphan Guard decks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that it's got those really powerful 5-mana walkers in Nissa Who Shakes the World. Like, do you know what? People were talking about how, like, back a couple of months ago now, but people were like, does Nissa need to be in the conversation of what gets banned back when the Oko decks were super popular?
Yeah. I
They're
remember.
like, this card is so powerful. And guess what? Like, yeah, there are other very powerful things going on right now, but like, Nissa's also still really good. That didn't stop happening.
Yeah, it turns out that Nissa is still a house, and don't forget about her.
Yes. Exactly. Like, it's going to be on you if you forget about Nissa Who Shakes the World. You will still lose to that card.
It's going to be on you.
It's going to be on you. Do you know what, Maria, I realized that we did not talk about?
What?
And like, shame on us.
What was it?
Maria, we didn't talk about Garuda.
Oh, you're right. We got to mention Garuda. It's kind of fallen off the radar.
Like,
it was like a 1 week wonder in Standard, and then now is like nowhere to be seen.
I mean, I certainly still play against it.
Oh, you do, really?
And I have played against it, and I have yet to win a match against this deck, because when it goes off, it is brutal.
Yeah, this is a wild deck that people are playing. I think like last week and the week. Yeah, last week was kind of like its time in the sun, and it was just everywhere. It was like a virus. And people
That's
just
a very good way to describe it.
Yeah, it was a virus. It was a virus. And, if you had asked me before Standard happened and you're like, hey, do you think the 6-mana 6/6 is good enough for Standard? I would have been like, you're out of your mind. Absolutely not. It's too slow, too expensive, whatever. Turns out that it's just fine.
What about when you put, 6 Garudas into play? Because that's what happens.
Yeah, so it happens because of, what's the card?
Spark Double.
Spark Double, right? So you play your Garuda, you mill yourself and your opponent, you put something onto the battlefield. Hopefully it's a Spark Double. It could even be another Garuda. You do it all over again because it's copying Garuda. Mill again, put a permanent out, and pretty soon by turn whatever, you've got like 40 power on the board. No big deal.
It's absurd. And then it also plays, the versions that I've seen play Thassa Deep Dwelling. So it's like, you did that on your turn, you played at least 1 Garuda, usually probably at least 2, and then you also got a Thassa out of the deal. And then so on your end step, you just do it again.
You just do it again. Just blinks itself and, or not itself, but Thassa blinks it, do it all over again. Yeah, it's,
do it all over again. It is brutal. And then it also plays, the versions that I've seen have also play Endray's Forerunners.
Big pigs.
So it's just big pig, and you big pig that big pig into play.
Sick. Well, I haven't seen Garuda recently, so I don't know. I personally hope it. I don't mind if it's there like a little bit, but it feels so unfair when it happens.
Exactly. That is the best way to describe it, is that like when it happens, it just feels unfair. You're like, oh, I'm playing Magic and you're playing something else.
Yeah, I agree.
But we're not playing fundamentally the same game.
No, you're playing spin the wheel, right? You're like, okay, well, I watched a bunch of Garuda mirror matches when I was doing commentary last week for Magic Fest Online, and it was basically like, oh, who hits better with Garuda? That's literally the game, which is not Magic, so...
Yeah. I have to say, a lot of these decks, like some of the ones I've talked about too, like the Recto Sacrifice decks to some extent, these Garuda decks, even Fires, kind of feel like combo decks.
They really do. They really do. And you're a combo deck fan.
Yeah. I am. I've had a really good time. Like you would usually I'm sure people who are listening are like, Megan, you don't like Rakdos. That's not your thing. And like the answer is that usually it's not, except that I love that the Recto Sacrifice deck feels just like this puzzle that you're putting together. You're like trying to snap these pieces into place. That's like, okay, how are we dealing 20 damage of like some combination of like Mayhem Devil triggers and like what can you attack with and then also be able to sacrifice things. It's really cool, but it's interesting because it felt like for a long time, Wizards was kind of really pushing away from the combo deck archetype, like deck building archetype. It was just sort of like, oh, the world should consist of like aggressive decks, mid-range decks, and control decks. And combo should be banished forever and never talked about. So it's interesting that we're in this place right now. And I think that to some extent it has to do with the power level increasing. Like the more, power creep that you have, the more powerful cards are, the more people are going to find ways to do busted quick things with those cards rather than just try and, fight it out in a fair way.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. And I was thinking about this the other day too. The cards are so powerful in Ikoria, and they've been getting more powerful over standard, as you said, that are we just doomed to have a standard now, or blessed, or whatever, however you like to think about it, have a standard where power is and doing the most powerful thing at any given time is always the best strategy, which is kind of how it feels a little bit right now, with the exception of the Rakdos deck. So thank goodness that deck exists, because like I think that Temur Reclamation, Yorion, Fires of Invention, these decks which are at the top of the field are all trying to do something insanely powerful. Garuda, for example, as quickly as possible. And it gets a little homogenous if that kind of is like, we just know that that's the best thing to do because the cards are so powerful. If it's just like the only
thing.
Right, exactly. So something to think about for sure. One other deck list I did want to mention before we wrap up this segment is Abzan Humans, which is a fun little deck, which of course I've got to play because I love tribal synergies. This is a cool deck that's playing General Carrucha of Dranith, which is a legendary 3/3. He's pretty cool with his gem on his shoulder. He looks really like a good general, giving your other humans +1/+1. And when he or another human enters the battlefield, you can exile something from a graveyard. So we're dealing with Uro there. And then you play cards like a General's Enforcer, which gives the other legendary humans you control indestructible, so they can't be killed, which is really cool. And another legendary human you play is Cheval Bane of Monsters, which is the 1/3 with Death Touch, where you get to put a bounty counter on another permanent, and then when it's gone, you get to gain 3 life and draw a card. And also people are putting Hero of Precinct 1 into this deck because you're playing so many multicolored cards. Anyway, I don't think this deck is very good, at least right now, but it is super fun. If you like strategies like that, consider Abzan Humans.
And you do like a tribal synergy.
I sure do. So I hope we get some more different kinds of decks that are able to hang with like the big powerful decks in the format coming up here, and just kind of see standard like accept the fact that maybe we don't always just have to like slam Cavalier of Flame, and then win that way.
Don't be mean to Cavalier of Flame.
Sorry.
I once raced a mono red deck with Jeskai Fires.
Oh, did you really? How'd you race it?
Because do you know what? If you get to turn 5 and you're not dead, you can kill them.
Sick.
It was really pretty cool. I liked it.
If you've got a deck in standard that you've been playing that you really love, a pet deck that you've brewed up or something that you're like, hey, this might have gone under your radar this week, please tweet at us at GLHF Magic and let us know what that deck is, because we would love to try out some more spicy brews here on the podcast and let everybody know about them too. Well, everybody, that's this episode of Good Luck High Five. Thank you so much for hanging out with us as we talk about the wild, wild world of Standard that I'm sure will be completely different in 2 weeks' time, in which case we will revisit it. But we had to talk about it this week because this stuff is just off the wall, and Standard is just a home of a lot of big, wild stuff going on. So
I cannot imagine where Standard will be in 2 weeks.
Neither can I. I didn't think that we would be talking this week and we would literally forget to talk about Garuda because it's disappeared 1 week later.
Yeah, it is wild. I can't imagine where I will be at in 2 weeks, which is still inside my own home.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Just to give everybody an update on the microscopic worm water.
Oh,
my
we need
plants
about
seem
the
to be
worm
doing
water.
great. Yeah, I think that it did solve the gnat problem.
Wow.
So I feel pretty great about it. So, and if you're on the video version, I'll show you. Look, I made a little hanging plant basket.
Oh, that's really cute.
Yeah, so that my cat can't bite that plant anymore. So what I'm saying is that that's how I'm channeling my quarantine energy still. My plants are thriving.
Beautiful. You're 30, flirty, and thriving, Megan.
That's right. Maria, how are you channeling that quarantine energy this week?
I'm putting it all into business.
Yep. Fair enough. Fair enough. In case you all haven't heard, Good Luck High Five is currently negotiating a move into a new office space.
Yes, we'll have more information for you about that on upcoming episodes, but it's very exciting. Means a lot of exciting stuff for the future of Good Luck High Five.
Yeah.
And this is a really tough time to be able to be trying to do something like this. But it's also a time when you get unprecedented opportunities, I think. So, we're just gonna take it.
Yeah.
That's the spirit of Good Luck High Five, Put on that rocket pack and just shoot your butt to the moon.
A lot of Maria's energy this past week was channeled into sending me very long text messages about why this was a good idea.
Hopefully, I turn out to be right, gentle listeners.
Yeah. Hey, just so you know, my mom thinks that you're right.
Oh,
So,
she does? Okay, that makes
Yeah.
me feel great. Megan's mom,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Megan's mom.
Yeah, she's really great, and she was like, "Oh yeah, Maria is right. You should you should be using this time to seize opportunities." And I was like, "Okay." So you have the Megan's mom stamp of approval.
As long as I've got that stamp of approval, I feel ready to tackle the world. Thanks for listening again, everybody. We'll talk more about that later. If you want to support us in these tough times and you're financially able to do so and feel motivated, head on over to patreon.com/GLHFmagic and throw $5 our way, especially for people who can't in this time. Check out cardkingdom.com/GLHF. They're an amazing sponsor and they've got our back during this pandemic. So let's all have theirs as well and show them that we appreciate their support and they're being a good company. And everybody at home, keep sticking it out. I feel optimistic about the future. And we just need to stick in this a little while longer, everybody, and we will just kick its butt. That's what I think.
Yes, we will. Stay at home, kick its butt. We're here for you. Good luck, high five, but from a distance.